Hey, Warren Eckstein here. How many times have you seen people walking in your neighborhood or at the park or at the beach with one of those retractable leashes, where they hold the handle and the leash can go out 10, 15, 20 feet, whatever size you want it to go to? Is it a good idea? Is it a bad idea? I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan at all of the retractable leashes. Under certain circumstances, I think they're okay. So I put together a list of things when you should never use a retractable lead, and then I'll tell you when you should. First of all, if you walk your dog using a head halter or one of those gentle leaders or those halty harnesses, I would never, ever, ever recommend using a retractable leash. Number two, your dog is walked using a prong, choke, or some other type of aversive collar. First of all, you shouldn't be using any type of aversive collar, but if you're going to use that collar, never use it with a retractable leash. Number three, if you're around other people, other dogs, make sure you're not using retractable leash as well. You never know how your dog is going to react, and you don't have that type of control that you need to have. Also, let's say you're within reach of traffic, cliffs, or other hazards. Let's take a look at this. Years ago, I had a friend of mine, an acquaintance of mine, when I was living in Sedona, Arizona, and he would, the trails there are amazing, the hiking's beautiful, and everyone took their dog for a hike. And I saw so many people walking with their dogs with the retractable leads. And I would walk my dogs, but they would always be on a 6 foot or an 8 foot or even a 10 foot lead if I wanted to give them a little more space. But never, ever, ever a retractable lead. And here's why. Walking on the trail, and I hear the horror stories every day on the radio shows. Walking on a trail with a retractable lead, the owner's either listening to the radio or on the phone. The lead's 15, 20 feet in front of him. The dog goes off the trail, and the next thing you know, the dog is bitten by a rattlesnake or a spider or God knows what else. So it's really, really important, specifically in those situations where there are danger. You're near a cliff, you're near a street, you're near cars. You should never, ever use one of those retractable things. Also, your dog has any problem. A lot of people, you see them with those retractable leads, and the dog runs ahead when he sees another dog, and they hold back. You can really harm your dog, especially if you have a dog with previous injuries to their neck or their throat. Make sure you don't use one of those retractable leads as well. And let's be realistic. If you are 4'3" and you have a Neapolitan Mastiff, you need more control than a retractable lead. You need some training, not a retractable lead. And let's say this. If you're walking more than one dog at a time, I would never use a retractable leash either. And this is critical because I've heard the horror stories. I've known people like this. If you live in a building with an elevator, don't ever use a retractable lead. I've heard so many stories over the years about the person getting in the elevator. They had the lead. The dog went outside on the retractable lead, just past the elevator. The door's closed, and I don't have to tell you the rest of the story. So those are just some of the basic reasons why you should not use a retractable lead. Now, on the other hand, if you're in an area where there's not a whole lot of dogs and not a whole lot of people and there's no spiders or snakes or Godzilla is not around, and you have a well-behaved dog and you want to give the dog some more space, you're in an open area where there's not a whole lot of things going on, that's fine. You want to use a retractable lead there. I don't have a problem with that. What I do have a problem with is people that just go out and they purchase one of these retractable leads. They take none of the stuff I just went over into consideration, and sooner or later their dog winds up either being hurt or getting into a dog fight. All of these things are so important. So just because you see other people doing it, just because people recommend it, if you have a well-trained dog, as I said, I don't mind if you use a retractable lead when you're away from other people and away from distractions and away from dogs. But remember, and I say this over and over again, I talk to thousands of people, tens of thousands of people every week on the radio. And I hear over and over again about situations where they were walking their dog doesn't get along with other dogs, they had a retractable lead, but they didn't see any other dogs in the neighborhood. Then all of a sudden a dog popped out of a yard, the retractable lead went out, and there was a dog fight. I always say you have much better control, call me old-fashioned, with a 6-foot lead, a 10-foot lead, and even a 15-foot lead if you want to use that. But just make sure you have control over your dog. And the best way to have control over your dog, is you know what to do, is to educate them, teach them what basic training is all about. So again, if you want to use that retractable leash, it's your option. I gave you my opinion. I gave you the thoughts that I had, and the thoughts that I put together are not based on just coming out of my head. They're on over 50 years of experience. And I guess I don't know when the retractables first came into power, but I remember they wanted to sponsor my show. I had retractable leads, Flexi, other companies that wanted to come on the air with me, and I said, no, absolutely not. Why? Not that they're doing anything bad. I just don't think that they take the time, or people don't take the time to figure out the proper and improper way to use certain tools when it's taking care of their dog or cat. So you want to use a retractable lead, that's your option. You can follow my advice and keep your dogs a lot safer and healthier, and I think a lot happier as well. I'm Warren Eckstein. Talk to you on the radio.